Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today in today's webinar. My name is Viviana Valencia and I'm the Executive Coordinator at CALDO Universities. So today, at today's webinar, we will be providing information on funded research programs and internships for masters and PhDs. And with me, we have Darren Lum, who is International Partnerships Officer from Mitacs. Thank you, Darren, for being here with us today. And also we have two special guests, Daniel Luna and Samantha Pelayo. Both of them have participated in Mitacs programs, as well as right now they're doing their graduate degrees at some of our member universities, called the member universities. So we also will gonna hear from them about how their experience has been both at Mitacs and as graduate students in Canada. So I would just like to go briefly with a couple of housekeeping items. So at the end of the session, you will have some time to ask questions. The only thing that I suggest is that you will see in your screen, there's two boxes, one for the chat and one for the Q&A. If you can just please use the Q&A box to note your questions as we're going through the information, feel free to note them there. And this is the agenda for today's session. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about options or opportunities for graduate programs in Canada through our member universities and some of the funding opportunities that we have for you. As well as then after my colleague Darren Lum is going to be speaking about Mitacs, the internships opportunities that Mitacs is offering. Then we're going to hear from Daniel and Samantha, and to close the session, we're going to have a bit of a Q&A to hear from you as well, to know a little more about what your interests are. Okay, so with this, I will start right away, and I will introduce you to CALDO. So what is CALDO? For those of you who are not familiar with us, CALDO is a consortium of now 10 universities. And what we do is we provide free services for prospective graduate students that wish to come to Canada to do a master's or PhD programs. So this support is by connecting you with our member universities, which I'm going to describe later who those members are. And also we provide assistance by helping you find or navigate the system in terms of how to put an application. Also, we provide assistance on how to contact supervisor. I invite you actually to visit our website where we have a different webinars that we have been doing throughout the year on different topics that will help you in your search and your preparation to complete graduate studies here in Canada. So why to come to Canada? I'm gonna actually let Samantha and Daniel to expand a little more on this because they can tell you exactly why they came back to Canada after doing their internship with Mitacs. But some of the reasons that we have heard, and that is definitely what has increased the number of international students to come to Canada, is definitely some like the recognition and the caliber of the Canadian education. Also the inclusiveness and the multiculturalism of Canadian society. Also, if you're interested in doing your programs in English or in French, that is an option to do it in either language. And the affordability of some of the cities, definitely that's also depending on where you're coming from. It could be that our cities could be affordable for you. So our member universities are the 10 universities that you see here now on your screen. So those are the University of Alberta, the University of Calgary, Dalhousie University, Université Laval, McMaster University, University of Ottawa, University of Saskatchewan, University of Toronto, University of Waterloo, and Western University. So those are the 10 member universities that are part of the CALDO Consortium. And just so you have an idea or where they are, now in your screen, you'll see the map of Canada. So as you may know, like Alberta, obviously there's the University of Alberta located in the capital, which is Edmonton. And also University of Calgary is in the province of Alberta. Saskatchewan is the University of Saskatchewan by its name and the province of Saskatchewan. Then in Ontario, we have 5 of our partners, which is the University of Ottawa, Western, Waterloo, McMaster, and University of Toronto. In Quebec, we have the University of Laval. And in Nova Scotia, if you see it on the Maritimes, we have Dalhousie University. So something that I want to mention about, and why I mentioned actually the distribution of the universities, is because even though all of our 10 universities are what we call comprehensive universities, what that means is all of them will offer a wide array of different programs. Most of them have hundreds of programs doing masters and PhDs. Something that is interesting is, depending on the location, they might have some strengths, what they call their excellence areas. For example, the province of Alberta is known as the oil province of Canada. So you will find that a lot of the programs in terms of energy or petroleum, those two universities are going to have very strong programs. Saskatchewan, for example, there is known as the basket of bread of Canada. So everything that has to do with agriculture, water treatment, Saskatchewan is very strong. And I'm just mentioning a couple of examples, just so you can more or less situate yourself, but doesn't mean that those are the only ones. Obviously they have various, it's just because of time. I'm just highlighting a couple ones. Dalhousie University is by the ocean. So you're gonna find that the programs in oceanography, environmental sciences are gonna be very strong. So that's why I wanted just to illustrate this. So what I'm trying to say is, it really depends on where you want to be, given that all of our 10 member universities offer various programs in most of the areas. So you need to figure out more or less where would you like to be within Canada. Okay. So why to choose a CALDO university? So as I had mentioned at the beginning, our member universities are top-ranked universities, and they're also members of what we call the U15. So what the U15 is the 15 universities in Canada that are research intensive. So they focus a lot on their research programs. And here I have just listed some of the reasons why you should choose one of the CALDO universities. They offer again, a wide array of different programs. They also have language schools in case that, you feel like, yes, I would like to go to Canada. I would like to do my graduate program there, but perhaps you're a bit afraid that the language, you don't have the required language yet. You can also take some preparation courses that offer through our member universities to get you to the level that you need in order to successfully complete a graduate program here in Canada. I strongly suggest for you to, especially now that you might have some more time given what's happening around the world, to take some time and take some maybe online programs for language, because one thing is to meet the requirements to apply for the program. Sometimes depending on the program, depending on the university, there's gonna have a specific requirement in terms of the number that you need, or the scale, the range of scale that you need to achieve in your language test. But that's just a requirement. That's just to get you to the door. Once you do, after you have been admitted, that's a different story in terms of knowing how to write academically for your program. So some of our universities offer those programs that will help you succeed in your degree. Okay, so in terms of funding opportunities, one thing that we do at CALDO, other than provide services to our prospective students in terms of guidance on how to apply to our member universities, we also work and collaborate with the countries in Latin America that where we have presence and where that we were working with, and creating agreements, funding agreements with entities, funding bodies in your home country that will facilitate the mobilization of students to come to Canada for full graduate programs. And this, what you see in your screen right now, are the list of agreements that we have in the different countries in Latin America. Those are the agreements that we have. If you're from one of those countries, chances are that you have heard of those entities because they're national entities. Some of those are, for example, in Mexico, Educafen, that's a state's entity, government program. And just to be mindful, again, given what's happening around the world, some of these calls might not be open right now, but might open obviously in the future once things are I'm going to say solved in terms of the health of the pandemic that we're experiencing right now. But I just wanted to let you know of the opportunities that we have for you through our funding partners. In terms of the application, if you want more detailed information, my suggestion is that you visit our website where we have more information about the eligibility. And also, if after seeing our website, if you still need more information on that, what I will suggest, and I'm gonna show you right now, this is our website. So if you go into steps to apply, like I mentioned there, you can then go to funding opportunities, and you will see basically what not the exact chart that I just show you, but you will see the different logos of the funding partners where you can find more information. But if after you have gone through our website, you still are not sure of how to do it, I'll invite you to, this form, you will see it on our website as well. I invite you to complete this form, and we'll be in touch with you with more information on how to apply. So something that I can mention quickly is that, with the exception of Panama, in order to apply for a scholarship, students must include an admission letter to the graduate program. Then you can contact us for more support in terms of how to apply. So with this information, I just like to send a quick poll because I would like to hear about our audience. I would like to know who our audience is, and I would like to basically know if you can just quickly click there. Now that you see the funding opportunities that are, I'm just gonna move this here just so you see it well, that we have in the, the opportunities of funding programs that we have through our members. How likely are you to apply for one of those scholarships? If you can just quickly let us know in the poll, that'll be great. Again, this is just to get a sense, because I would like to know also who our audience is and what their interest lies on. Just gonna wait a couple of seconds for that poll to be done. And in the meantime, also, I just like to briefly mention, because I'm just being conscious of time here, that October 1st, if you're interested in learning more about our universities, interested more on connecting with our universities and learning how you can apply to their different graduate programs, we're going to be having a virtual fair on October 1st, which I invite you to attend. It's completely free. You can register. And at this fair, most of our member universities are going to be participating with their booth. And that way you can connect with them directly, ask questions, about academic requirements, about the life and their campus, the life in the city. This is a great opportunity for you to connect directly with our member universities. And also next week, we're gonna have a webinar for those of you who might be interested on pursuing studies in plant biology. We're gonna have two guests from two of our member universities where they can where they will let you know about the different research areas that they're focusing on in terms of plant biology. And so you can know a little more, and you can start making those connections on how to contact a supervisor basically for future studies. Okay, with this, I will turn it over to Darren, who is going to talk to us a little bit more about what Mitacs can offer you in terms of funding internships.
Perfect. Thank you, Bibiana, for that kind introduction. And I hope everyone is staying safe during these times of COVID-19, and want to wish everyone's friends and families that they're okay. So it is a pleasure to be here to discuss our programs, partnerships, and support the current launch of our own Global Link Research Internship Program, also referred to as GRI. As mentioned, my name is Darren Lum, and I'm one of many international partnerships officers at Mitacs. Next slide, please. I'd first like to give you an overview of who Mitacs is, for those of you who don't know, discuss some of our different programs at high level, and then kind of go into deeper information about the Global Link Research Internship Program, the application process, and then give some small examples of some student stories that have been successful. Next slide, please. So Mitacs is a not-for-profit national organization funded both by federal and provincial governments solely to drive the innovation agenda. We also support research collaborations and the training of the next generation of talented researchers. In Canada, Mitacs is mostly known for its role as a key player in research and development, but specifically with industry as opposed to academia. But we have a very strong business development team and who help connect these academic researchers to support these industrial collaborations. Next slide, please. So Mitacs has a suite of international programs. These are the top three we have: the Global Link Research Internship, which is a summer undergraduate research internship. We have the Global Link Research Award, which is a graduate level or postdoctoral level in kind of a travel grant for those who want to do short-term research stays. And we have Accelerate International, which is also at the graduate level and postdoctoral level for those to gain industry-related research projects. For the duration of this particular program, though, I will be focusing most of our attention to the Global Link Research Internship. So as mentioned, this is a summer research opportunity for international undergraduate students. Currently, we have a call open and it closes on September 24th. So if you are interested, I'd suggest you go over to our website to see about more information about it. This year, we have over 2,000 projects posted from all of our universities. For reference, Canada has over 75 different universities. And so we have over 2,000 projects posted in all disciplines, specifically for this particular program, and which is specific for international students. And select students are able to spend 12 weeks in Canada to work on these research projects. Next slide, please. As mentioned, this program is meant for international students. So we have partners across the globe, including Australia, Brazil, Colombia, starting in 2022, China, France, Germany, Hong Kong, India, Mexico, Taiwan, Tunisia, Ukraine, United Kingdom, and United States. So as you see, we try to have a large, diverse crowd of international students participating in this program. For Mexico particularly, we have our partners, CEP, Tec de Monterrey, Educafin, and the state of Aguascalientes. There's particular criteria there for each of those particular partnerships. Next slide, please. In Colombia, we're starting our partnership with MinCiencias starting kind of next year. We're also looking at other opportunities, including the Uniminuto and Universidad de los Andes. Next slide, please. And then lastly, for Chile, we are in discussions currently with ANID, previously known as CONACYT, specifically for the Accelerate International program. And we are working with the ministry and other folks to try to also partner with the Global Link Research Internship. Next slide, please. So the benefits of this particular program are quite evident if you kind of go through the information, but in summary, all students are able to get 12 weeks of hands-on experience supervised by a Canadian faculty member. Students are matched with graduate level mentors at the same school to help provide support for their internship. They help pick you up from the airport, give you kind of a campus tour, and set up social gatherings so that you can meet new friends potentially with other GRI interns. We provide somewhat of a comprehensive stipend and benefits package, which is equivalent to $12,000 Canadian. This helps cover for airfare, accommodations, medical insurance, and etc. Students can take part of professional learning development workshops included in such as project management, problem solving, and other things. And then lastly, alumni of the program are eligible to receive a one-time $15,000 scholarship from Mitacs if they choose to do a master's or PhD in Canada. This is also known as the Global Link Graduate Fellowship, or GGF. So again, if you are looking to apply, you check out our website. This is kind of how our website looks. And that's all I can say about that. Next slide, please. The general timeline for these every year is that students can start to apply for projects starting in August all the way until mid-September. What happens then is we check for eligibility criteria. Professors receive the applications and we start to match students to do their interviews. And then what happens is students and professors both rank their favorite professors and students, vice versa. At that time, we go through an algorithm process to match kind of students and their professors based on their top rankings, and matches get confirmed in January. Whereas in February, you have the ability to reject or accept your offer and then kind of start that visa application process. And then, as mentioned, it is a summer research internship. So between May or sometime in May, June, July, you can start your internship all the way up to, and it ends in September. So we have many stories highlighting on our website. We try to keep these up to date. I encourage you all to go to the website to check it out, but I'll just quickly give you a snapshot of a few of them. Next slide. In 2017, this particular student said they'd love to come back to continue doing research in Manitoba. This internship has been an amazing experience for me. I'm so glad I came. They did a research project potentially linking diabetes with dementia. Next slide. Here's a student from Mexico who's helped develop strategies on food reduction. So interesting projects for there in 2018. And lastly, there's another project here from a student in Tech de Monterrey researching how to prevent allergies. So all different types of projects, as mentioned, they're not just in science, math, engineering. Some are about social aspects and arts and humanities. Next slide, please. And lastly, you don't have to take my word for it. In 2015, we did a very comprehensive study of over 500 different interns. 66% that they felt more employable and improved their professional skills. 71% felt very strongly about this experience and had a significant impact in their career. And we've got lots of other kind of stats on how, I think it was like 90% had said that they highly enjoyed their experience and would recommend a friend. So at that, I think my time's up, and I'd like to introduce to you two previous GRI interns, both Daniel and Samantha, who are here, and they've been doing their experiences, and they can tell you more about the whole process around the internship, their particular schools, their particular experiences as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Yeah, so I think we're gonna send another poll, but after we have heard from Daniel and Samantha, because I think it would be better after we have heard from them to ask the audience their interest. So I would like just to introduce you first to Daniel Luna, who is currently doing a PhD. He's a PhD candidate at the Microbiology and Immunology Department at Dalhousie University. Daniel also, as Darren mentioned, participated at a program through Mitacs at Dalhousie University. So Daniel, can you let us know about your experience? How was the experience with Mitacs, and how's your experience now being a graduate student at Dalhousie? Thank you.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for the invite. It's like a really pleasure for me to be here and share my experience. It's not like such a great experience, like in terms of years, but I hope this would be helpful for a lot of people. So my name is Daniel Medina, and yeah, I'm from Mexico City. And I did my summer internship with Mitacs in 2017, just because a friend told me to apply. And at that time, I didn't know actually a lot of details about Mitacs, and I had other plans. I always, since I started university, I started doing research. So by that time, I was like, I already had like 3 years of research experience. And I actually was in another internship when I applied to Mitacs, just because my friend told me, because we wanted to do the internship together. I have to be really honest. But then like coming to Canada was perhaps the most rewarding experience I ever had in my life, because I had the opportunity to do internship in a country where it's like super open-minded, super supportive for science and technology, for the development of science and technology, arts, everything. Coming from Mexico, I do believe that like we do have a lot of potential in Mexico, but unfortunately, the funding for science and technology is super limited. So coming to Canada and having this experience has helped me a lot. I did my internship in the same lab, in the same university when I'm here right now, in the microbiology and immunology department in a project related to influenza research. But now I just changed to cancer research. So right now I'm about to start my third year of PhD in cancer research. And I'm really, really happy because like, thanks to Mitacs, I could basically come back to Canada because I had the opportunity to meet with my current PhD supervisor, who like just told me like, when I was doing my internship in the summer, he told me like at the end, if you really want to come back, I can offer you funding from one of my grants and we can just start from there. And that's what I did. When I finished university, I just emailed him saying like, hey, I was wondering if your offer is still in place. And he said like, yeah, don't worry, I'll just make everything possible for you. And so you just have to basically say yes. So that's what I did. I just took a fate of, like a leap of faith and just came here knowing that I would know at least my supervisor, which is like really important to know your graduate supervisor, because basically she's going to be like your teacher and your mentor for 2 or 6 years, who knows. And I knew the city, I already had friends here. So I said, yeah, why not come in there? So I came originally for a master's. And 1 year after the master's, my supervisor offered me to transfer from the master program to the PhD program. So I really feel like Mitacs, besides from the financial support, which it's amazing, I feel like the most important thing is that this internship allows you to connect with supervisors in person, which is like sometimes really hard when you're applying to graduate school from other countries, because the most you can do is just an Skype interview or something like that. But then you wouldn't be 100% sure that this is the correct supervisor for you, if that makes sense for you. But so that's one of the reasons why I really love my experience with Mitacs. And also I feel like with the support of the first scholarship that I had with the $15,000 that Darren was talking about before, I could really apply to other scholarships here in Canada. So far, thanks to that, I've been able to get 5 different scholarships from provincial and federal government here in Canada. So just because like I had that background of getting scholarships from Mitacs. So I feel like Mitacs just opens so many doors for you. Even just if you haven't done any research before, like Mitacs, there's always an opportunity for you. That's what I always think. And I just feel like it's just fantastic, because like I had the option to go to either to the States or to come into Canada when I was applying to graduate school. And I actually decided to come to Canada just because I feel like it's such a lovely country. It's such a peaceful country. Coming from Mexico City, which is like hectic and sometimes dangerous, like just living in Canada, you just like feel so free. So, like such a bright future ahead of you. So I'm really happy that I chose Canada over the United States. So I don't know if I still have some time, but yeah, that's basically my experience. I don't know, like I would just suggest everyone just to, like keep fighting for what you believe. Like I had a lot of step backs in Mexico just because I really wanted to do research in Mexico. But unfortunately, like my supervisor in Mexico, he wasn't like he didn't have the funding to support me for my graduate school. So I just like keep looking for opportunities outside of Mexico. Unfortunately, I'm so far away from my family and friends, but like at least I'm doing here what I really love. So I'm just like, I just did this super quick. Like if you have any other further questions, here's my my email, or if you happen to be in Nova Scotia, which is a lovely province in the east coast of Canada, we have a lovely weather. It's not that cold as the rest of Canada. You can go to the beach. So if you happen to be here, just shoot me an email and we can just meet in person if you want.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for sharing with us your experience through Mitacs and now as a graduate student at Dalhousie University. Something very important that you mentioned that I want you to take on is that we oftentimes get questions, right? Like funding. So we know there's a great need for funding, but we also know there are limited resources around the world. Earlier I mentioned some of the scholarships that we have to call, though obviously we want all of you to be able to apply to those scholarships, but knowing that, you know, even then those are limited, there's a limited number of scholarships. So I think one of the good things between, you know, Mitacs and CALDO is that we offer these opportunities for studies with funding, and through Mitacs you can do those connections like Daniel just mentioned of knowing your future supervisor, because it's something that sometimes the students don't really look into it before, and it's a relationship that you're gonna have if you're doing a PhD for 5-6 years, depending on the field. So it's very important. And on that topic, we have a webinar that we did, I think last month, on how to contact a supervisor, where some of our member universities provide very good tips on things to look for and how to do this first approach in case you don't have the opportunity that Daniel has, because again, we know that even Mitacs, they have limited amount of scholarships, but you can still do those connections. Yeah. Thank you so much, Daniel. Yeah. We're gonna go back to you in a few. I just want to give some time to Samantha to let us know about her experience, but we're gonna get back to you because I have a couple of questions for you. Sure. Thank you. So Samantha Pelayo, she's doing a master's in civil engineering at the University of Toronto. And guess what? She also did her Mitacs internship at the University of Toronto. So Samantha, thank you for being with us today. Could you, I'm gonna basically turn it over to you to tell us about your experience.
Thank you very much, Viviana, and thank you everyone for attending to this webinar. I can definitely identify myself with all of you because I've personally been attending to webinars before, like from CALDO. They're like super helpful and full of information, so you're on a good track. So yeah, I did my internship at the University of Toronto 2 years ago already. It sounds crazy, but time flies. And basically, I found out about the Mitacs program through Facebook. It was like, I don't know, it was super weird like how it happened. I was still in my undergrad back in home in Mexico. And it was just a week before returning to classes for the fall semester. And I was just browsing on Facebook, like as we normally do, I guess. And then there was an ad about an internship, and then it came with a little bit of information, and I was like, okay, sounds interesting. So I immediately went to the website. It was a very friendly website, all the information detailed there. So it was an easy process for me, I would say. Very clear about the requirements, all the paperwork that you would need to do, application, letters, everything was super clear. So for me, it was super easy, and I just started to gather the documents. I think I had to apply through the SEP, like SEP, like the Public Education Secretary or Ministry of Mexico, because I was in a public university. And then I had my interview with my supervisor, which is now my supervisor, in December. Yeah, early December or the last days of November. And then we got matched. And then I received an offer the first days of December. So it was an easy and like quick process for me. And then January, I was like processing my visa and like all this immigration steps. And May, I was here. So I was in a very great research group. My research was about permeable pavements at that time. So as you can see in the right picture, and we were just modeling and putting some rainfall on it and just see what would happen with it, like with the flow and everything. And what else can I say? It was a very fun experience. It was summer, so it's a good time to come. I could meet a lot of people there. So as you can see here, there was a big gathering of the interns in Toronto. So you could meet different people from different places, and you could also network. So that was a very, very big thing for me because I wasn't used to it. And then I learned how to approach people, how to successfully talk about your research in a clear way. And so you never know when you're going to need help from other coworkers. And sometimes it can be even outside of your research field. So that's a very strong skill I acquired thanks to like this internship as well. And then again, like more people, I became very close to this group of people. They were very supportive. We were in the same like path of continuing graduate studies. And yeah, once I talked to my supervisor about the possibility to come back, she responded in a different way because of course all supervisors are different. So she was not like, yeah, you have a spot. She was more like, well, you have to go through the whole process as anyone has to, and then we'll see what happens. Like, we'll take it from there. Like, you're not the only one coming and applying for like your spot, like my current spot right now. So I was like, okay. And then I had to prepare myself with the TOEFL exam, like the English exam. I had to gather more documents and so on, but it was still a smooth process. And then I'm very, very happy I came back. It was like more smooth because I knew already my supervisor, I knew the campus, just as Daniel said. I knew the city, I knew what I wanted in terms of research, and so I'm here. So I think Mitacs, or like this internship, was a very useful bridge to connect and to keep studying and pursuing my academic and personal goals. So I would highly recommend to whoever wants to try it, because you never know when or where it will take you. So I think I will just stop it from, my current research right now is just on green roofs. So this is the lab I'm working at. So it's the architecture building. And it's a very similar research from what I was doing. So that was super good because I could link it to my previous experience. So I think that's it for me. I'll just leave it there. And unfortunately, I didn't prepare contact information, but I could just put it in the chat or something if you want to ask me. All right, thanks.
Thank you so much, Samantha, and thank you, our audience. I see some questions there already, and I know we've been answering a couple of questions there. My colleague actually, Maria, who is the person who helped us with the relationship with our students, has been helping me answering some of those. Thank you so much, Maria. And before we move on to questions from the audience, I would like to send another poll, just again to get a sense of who our audience is. Juan Jose, could you help me send in the next poll? And yeah, so basically we would like to know if you're interested in, depending on where you are right now in terms of your education, like in terms of your formation, if you're more interested on applying to Mitacs for a research internship. This is if you're still doing your undergraduate degree, or if you're at a point where you're looking for full graduate programs, master or PhD. And this is to know if you're interested in knowing about our member universities. If you can just help us with a brief poll, that would be awesome. And while our audience is completed the poll, I will actually like to, now that I have you here, Samantha, I would like to ask you a question. And for me, that would be like, what advice would you give to students interested in participating at a Mitacs program? So what would they should do in terms of how to prepare for the experience? Now that you've been through the experience, like how, yeah, is there anything that looking back, you think maybe I should have prepared this better, like have prepared for this a bit better, and what area, if there's anything?
Yeah, so I think 3 big things are linguistics, or like the language you want to do your internship. Like, we know Canada has both English and French like spoken universities, or like the language. So focus on what you want to do, or decide what your strongest language is, and then prepare for it. Like, you would have to have a certificate showing that you can speak and can perform successfully in the academic world. Then I would say as well, build relationships with your professors from your undergraduate, because you would need reference letters. So build connections with them. And just lastly, but not least, prepare for the cultural difference. It's completely different. It also depends with your supervisor. For example, in my case, I have a very international group, like a research group or co-workers. So it's kind of easier to manage the cultural difference. But if you come like and you just have to deal with Canadian co-workers, then it will be different. So just to be open about working with other people in general.
Thank you, Samantha. And I have to say, I think what Samantha mentioned is true for almost anything. Canada is a very diverse and multicultural society. So you're gonna find that, yeah, in your workspace, there's gonna be people with diverse backgrounds. I'm thinking, yeah, just and yeah, in CALDO we have people from different places. So yeah, that's the reality for any sort of a project that would you like to do in Canada is very diverse, which is also very rich, right? Because it helps you get ideas from different perspectives, and everybody brings something to the table, which is very enriching.
Exactly.
A question for Daniel, and then we're gonna move into the questions from the audience. Daniel, similarly, what advice would you give to our audience for those of you who are interested in pursuing graduate studies in Canada, based on your experience, because you studied a master, but now you are doing your PhD? Is there anything that you would advise our audience in terms of how to prepare for the life as a graduate student, international graduate student in Canada?
Yeah, so that to answer fully that question, I think it would take me like an extra hour, because like you believe you're super prepared to be a graduate student, but when you get to be a graduate student, it's like, no, I wasn't ready at all. But like I would say, start getting some experience as an undergrad, like in any field that you are passionate about. Just it doesn't really matter, because like one thing that I feel like a lot of supervisors here in Canada look for is like, at least in research, is researcher experience. Actually, what helped me a lot getting here, it was just like, because I started doing research so early in my career, just because I was lucky to find a supervisor in Mexico. But like, it doesn't have to be like a research in a institute, right? It could be a research in your university. It could be a research project with your classmates. I would say that kind of like the small experiences count a lot at the end, you know, like, because and as Samantha said before, like if you could get a really thoughtful and deep reference letter from your research supervisor or a professor that, you know, like look after you in your research in university, that counts a lot. That actually counts more than a reference letter coming from someone that doesn't know you but has like a higher position in an organization. Like you have to get that kind of experience to get that thoughtful kind of like reference letter saying like, hey, this is what I have done before, and I think I could just be a good add to your group. That worked for me. But I do understand that my personal experience is not what everybody's going through. But I would say like, just try to do something besides just the school. I 100% support like a school should be your priority, of course, but try to get extracurricular activities. Try to do something that passionates about you, because like even like when I was doing interviews for admissions in the States, they didn't ask me about my grades, because they already know my grades, right? They asked me about what's your passion, what do you do on your extra time, what do you do on your weekends, right? That's what really matters when it comes to admissions to especially North American universities, because like everybody everybody's going to have like, I don't know, like 95% grades, right? Everybody. But what differentiates you the most is like your experience, your life experiences, right? Like, so try that. That would be my best advice, I would say.
Thank you, Daniel. I think a couple asked for like 95. Yeah, but something that you touch on, and I think is very important, again, coming from Latin America, I know that we sometimes don't pay a lot of attention in terms of those extracurriculars that Daniel mentioned. And I think not only in Canada, but more and more I'm seeing it that professors are looking for what they call like well-rounded students, meaning that they are not only focusing on the project itself, but things outside just school, because that also translates into people being more flexible, being organized with your schedule, and also that you're gonna be able to better adapt to a different environment. Because even though, as you mentioned, both of you mentioned, Canada has all disadvantages, is very safe, and there are many things that make it an ideal place to do their graduate studies. It's different from Latin America, but if you come prepared, then you're definitely gonna succeed. So now I'm gonna go through some of the questions from our audience, because definitely, we're here to know about our audience. And I see a question that is being repeated, something that I would like to know is in terms of postdoctoral opportunities. So what I can say for those of you looking for postdoc opportunities in Canada, those are seen more as some sort of like it's more like a job. So you will find those in most of our members. I know, for example, University of Alberta at the top of my head, but I'm thinking most of our member universities will have a page of different postdoctoral opportunities posted on their website for those that are open to international, not students, but to international professionals to come and apply for those postdoctoral opportunities. So what I will suggest, if you're interested in that, go to the website of the university that you wish to do a postdoctoral degree, and look at their faculty according to your line of research, to see what opportunities are there. The other question that I see here, and is for Samantha. Samantha, hold on a second, I just lost it. Give me just 1 second. So actually I'm gonna ask Daniel, just because I found the question here for Daniel. So Daniel, did you apply straight for a PhD program after the internship? I believe you said you applied for a master, right?
No, I applied to the master's. Yeah, I applied to the master's and then transferred to the PhD program 1 year after. But I know that you can apply straight to PhDs, but they do have some other extra requirements. Just like most of them, they would either actually require you to have a master's or have a lot of good grades on particular courses in undergrad related to the program. Like for me, for example, they would have asked me to have a lot of classes on immunology and microbiology, which I didn't have. So that's why I couldn't apply straight to the PhD. But yeah, a lot of universities have like the facility just to transfer from master's to PhD.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Darren, I see a question here for I think it's better if you answer this question. So they would like to know when do you apply for a Mitacs internship? The question is if they apply while they're completing their bachelor's degree, their home country. Like, where would you recommend normally to apply for?
Yeah, so typically, I'll try and give a little bit of a longer answer. So typically, the GRI undergraduate program, you would want to start applying, I believe, when you're in your second year or when you're in your third year, because you're applying now to do an internship next summer, right, in about 6 to 8 months. So that's when you want to be applying. If you've already graduated or you're in your fourth year, it's unfortunately a little bit too late to apply to the GRI program. But we do have programs, as mentioned, the GRA and the Accelerate International program, which is really meant for existing master's or PhD or postdoctoral fellows. So these are, whether you're in a international university or a Canadian university as an existing student in a graduate level program, you can apply to these programs to facilitate what we call researcher mobility, which is the ability to travel to Canada or travel to Mexico or Colombia and then conduct some sort of collaboration project. We don't have any outside of that one-time fellowship for the GRI interns. We don't have we're not necessarily a scholarship type organization, but that is somewhat unique to us.
Thank you, Darren. And question to Mitacs, in terms of the field study supports, because the question here is if it's only for science or is there also opportunities for people in the arts and social sciences?
Yeah, so Mitacs supports all disciplines. You know, I think the sciences, technologies, and math and engineering is a little bit more popular, but we do have all disciplines supported by Mitacs. So whether it's an arts or humanities or social sciences or music project, we do support all disciplines.
Great, thank you so much, Daniel. I'm sorry, Darren. I'm going to ask, just because I'm looking at the time, I'm going to ask a question for both Samantha and Daniel, and that is because throughout the session you've been, connecting, making the connection between your internship through Mitacs and how that sort of helped you to do now your graduate degree, the graduate degree that you're currently doing. Is there anything that you would like to highlight in terms of how the experience that you got through Mitacs in terms of research is now helping you with your particular program, other than connecting you with the supervisor in terms of academically?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I can take the first for answering this question. I would say building relationship with my coworkers, like with the people who were also in the research group, as well as with services from the university, like either my department or student unions and student clubs and so on. So that helped me a lot to know what it was going to be like to be here for like longer. So yeah, how to work with them, like what they would need, how the rhythm of working would be, and so on. So that really gave me like a very good insight of what I was getting into if I was accepted. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Samantha. Daniel, is there something that you think,
Yeah, I mean, like I 100% agree with Samantha in terms of like the insight, of course, like from the department, from the university, from the city. And I would say also like in Mitacs, I could learn so many different research techniques that require like super expensive equipment that of course we don't, like at least in my lab in Mexico, we didn't have it. So I could actually learn a lot of techniques like high level research techniques here in Canada. So that's why actually like I learned a lot from there. And then like coming back, it was way easier for me because my supervisor was like, yeah, you already know this. So just like, we're just gonna like skip that training. And it was like actually faster for me to restart or to restart the program here in Canada as a graduate student.
Very there. Great, Daniel. Thank you so much. Daniel, is there anything else you would like to add before we close the session? I'm sorry, Darren. Is there anything else you would like to add before we close the session?
No, that's it. I did send a quick message or chat function to everyone. If you are an undergraduate student, you can create a login in like 30 seconds. There's lots of different filters that you can use to search the different criterias of the projects. I'd encourage you all to just create a login and check it out, if not just for your curiosity's sake, but that's all. Yep.
Thank you so much, Darren. I think all of us were also answering some of the questions just to be able to answer most of them through the session. So I thank you for that. And before we leave, I just want to leave our information here. If you require information about Mitacs, we already provided Darren's, but in case that you missed it, we can also forward those questions to Darren's area. If you would like to contact us, you can find our information in our website. We invite you to visit our website, where we have lots of resources to help you navigate the process of application. And I know, again, we're living university times, but what I would invite you to do is definitely to start preparing, because if you're interested in coming to Canada to do a graduate degree, to do an internship, as both Samantha and Daniel mentioned, requires a lot of preparation, not only academically, but also mentally for what's going to happen. So again, the more prepared that you are, the more successful you'll be. And we can help you throughout your journey in terms of applying for graduate programs at one of our CALDO member universities. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you, our audience, and thank you, our guests today. And I hope to see you in the next webinar next week for those of you interested on plant biology. Thank you so much. And oh, just before I forget, it's going to be a very brief survey at the end of the session. If you can help us with that, that would be wonderful. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.